Hey guys, it's Kevin Dermott here. It is halfway to Halloween, and as I promised in our promo a couple weeks ago, we have a new episode of Haunted Inspirations, and I also have an announcement to make. And guys, we're going to do this in a kind of interview slash podcast style with this gentleman I'm going to introduce to you. So why don't we get right down into it? All right, guys, Kevin Dermott here, and I'm with my friend Brian Kelly, a.k.a. Smoothie.
What's going on?
We go a long way back. From where?
From
college days, right, Smoothie?
Yes. Times I don't know. There's some saying I was going to say. Things I can't remember. I don't know. But yes, we go all the way back there. We had some good times at the Players Club in LVC. You sleeping on our couch, DJing all the music.
I was the guy on the couch.
You were. That's right. You were the guy on the couch. You had your own room, but you were always there on the couch. And I thank you for your service.
So obviously, this channel, the Haunt Dermotts, is, and this segment, the Haunted Inspiration segment, is about other people who create content that has horror elements to it at the very least. And you have a podcast.
I do.
And what is your podcast called?
The podcast, as well as my name, is the Mind of Smoothie podcast. Pretty much it's the easiest thing. Obviously, Smoothie was a nickname that I did receive back in the college days, so it goes all the way back then. And I just kind of carried that on. And for a while,
Great, by the way.
Yes. For a while, my username on a lot of things was INC_Smoothie because I do a podcast with a bunch of other friends. We know each other just from the internet, but he has his own Howdy Inc. I'll give that plug here. YouTube channel. You can check it out there. We do another podcast, The Unknown Podcast. There's his logo there. Beer chugging since 2004. We've been, doing things together. He's been doing stuff longer. I would say that he is the primary reason for me getting interested in doing podcast and making like videos. I mean, long before YouTube, he would make little videos and just like funny little skits and everything. And it just was always fun and to be part of that for all those years. So that's the plug to Howdy Inc. there. But I did change my name because when we started getting into like the podcasting piece of it altogether, we were also big fans of Kevin Smith. And I noticed like his production, his network, whatever you want to call it, the Smodcast network, they all had like some kind of on their Instagrams, except for Kevin Smith, like some call to the Smodcast thing, or at least I remember it that way. Maybe I'm wrong on that as well. So I was like, why don't we all put INC in front of our name for Howdy Inc. And that I was the only one that did it, and I maintained that. But then I needed to back probably around 2020 during lockdown when my channel had gone down a little, not gone down. I'm not huge by any stretch of the imagination, but when I started making less and less content, I kind of wanted to refresh and rebrand. And that's something I always thought about, like the podcast name being like Mind of Smoothie, just stuff from the top of my head. But then I figured, why not just change everything? Changed all my Instagram handles, the podcast name, the YouTube's channels, Mind of Smoothie now, just to kind of freshen it up. But I've had a rough couple of years, so I wasn't making a lot of content anyway. This year with the podcast, we just recorded episode 30, but at the beginning of this year, I was only at episode 17. So my primary focus this year has been the podcast. So I think I just got lost on where the hell the question was going with that. But that's how Mind of Smoothie came to be. Maybe that's where we were going. I forget. I apologize for kind of derailing it there. I got off track on a lot of lore.
See about your podcast, so yeah, you were kind of
So
describing, kind of the transition of to where it started and where it is now.
yeah, and that's okay. That's yes, bringing it back to that. And then I wanted something fresh, so I went with that. And I liked the on my website when it works or not. My like tagline is "My mind, my way," and then I kind of made up my other like slogan catchphrase, if you will, the "Come for the entertainment, stay for the journey. That journey deep into the mind of smoothie." I like it, and I guess that's all that matters. I think it flows nicely. I think it's probably one of the most creative things I've ever come up with. So
that's how I know when I watch your episodes, like that brings me right into that transition from now we're into it. Once you say that, I know I'm captivated into the episode.
and that's what I was striving for with that. And the other probably biggest thing is a lot of people always not call me on it, but you kind of say it's a catchphrase because it kind of stuck. I always say, but of course, and I've been saying that for even prior to that. Like whenever I would start a video or whatever, I would say it's your boy Smoothie, but of course, back when I was doing the new old vlog. Yeah, so it's stuck, and people always like if I say something, they'll interject, but of course after it. So yeah, but of course it's kind of like my other catchphrase. A lot of people always interject after that, and that's gone back quite a few years. So
now, how about your YouTube channel? You go back to what, 2010? Is that when you started YouTube?
Yeah, the Mind of Smoothie channel is not the 2010 channel. The original channel was under my name, the channel you get from default, and I started when YouTube was starting to become bigger because it was 2010. I mean, it only came out in 2006, and I'm a fan of the Insane Clown Posse, and early on there's a huge like Juggalo presence. If you're not familiar, Juggalos are fans of the Insane Clown Posse on YouTube, and it was fun just making these videos. And back in the early days of YouTube, the algorithm wasn't what it is now. Like you could still be monetized, but it wasn't as not strict, if you will, to get monetized. Like I was monetized for point. You weren't limited. You didn't have to hit certain thresholds. Like now you have to have 1,000 subscribers and 3,000 or 4,000 watch hours. You could have 500 and 3,000 watch hours, and you could get a little bit not fully monetized. But once you hit 1,000 and 4,000 watch hours, which I'm all on my way to that. That's one of my goals. You become monetized. But back then it wasn't so. And I don't know how much you remember from early YouTube, but you could actually go onto somebody's video and make a reply video to it, and it would get uploaded and they would see it, which I thought was a neat feature. But I can see how that probably, as they fine-tuned and became more of a business model, how that would probably be not good. Just being able to reply to everybody, because I don't know if there was any conditions, like if they could prevent it or whatever. I mean, obviously you could make it, but if they could review it and shut it down, I don't remember. But you could literally go and when you made your video, you can select reply to, this video. So you could still like do. I mean, you can make a reply video now, but you can't directly. Like you directly would be replying. Like the title would be in response to this person's name. So it was a lot of fun. I just got into it and just wanted to try it. And like I said, it wasn't as strict then. You didn't get hit with copyrights as much. Like I remember I made a video lip syncing an Eazy-E song, the 8-Ball remix. I know you're familiar with that from the Players Club. And at that time too, a little funny side anecdote story. Around that time, I had on Twitter, before Twitter became a dumpster fire that it is today. I started chatting back and forth with Eazy-E's son. We were talking. I forget what started. I just remember the one day Casey was small, and we went to the park, and he was in the stroller, and we were talking about something, and I tweeted something and he's like, oh, but you got, oh, I said something about the Eagles at the time. So it was around like the fall, around football season. And he replied back and he's like, oh, you got Michael Vick or whatever. So it was that time whenever Michael Vick was on the Eagles. And then we were just having like friendly banter. And like when I made that video, I like sent it to him and he like laughed and everything. And we had like a good, we don't, not as much anymore, but it was my first big celebrity encounter, if you will. And it was cool that it was somebody who was directly related to my favorite group, Bone Thugs and Harmony, you know, by birth, if you will, legacy, that'd be the best way. But so like you could do videos like that. It wouldn't make a difference. And I would do like CD opening videos and they would get like thousands of views and everything. And it would just be me opening, getting the CD in the car and opening it up, taking the plastic off and looking at the book and the CD and everything. And that was it. And then I had taken those. Well, part of the reason I think they got good views, that was before, it was only recently, more recent, that new releases for music come out Friday now. They used to come out on Tuesdays. And there was a store by me in like a mom and pop store that was only open on the weekends. So they would have the new releases on Friday. So I would, before I would go into work, because I was working a late shift then, I would go in, get the CD, and I'd have it well before release day. And I would do this video. I'd like to think that's because then there was a point he stopped. He stopped
that about you with music, that you would be grabbing it up as soon as you could.
And it was great. And then then I went in one time for some release. He said he couldn't do it anymore because he got in trouble. And I was like, I hope it wasn't because of me. I wasn't sharing them, you know, like people would always then reach out and say, oh, can you rip me a copy? And I wouldn't. I'd be like, no, it's just wait until Tuesday. Or obviously pirating things was big then, but not like today where you could just instantaneously get it when it comes out on streaming service. But that was just the kind of videos I did. And then I started just doing little, I called them vlogs before the new old vlog. And around 2015, I think that was the first iteration of the new old vlog. So that was really when I started to get serious about YouTube, where I like thought this was like a great thing. And then I switched over to this new channel because I'd taken down all those other videos. I still have most of them, I think, I hope. Just because I was at a point in time where it's bad. I don't want to say like ultra religious or whatever, but like I felt like I was in that position. Like I stopped listening to like Insane Clown Posse and stuff. And so I didn't want to have that stuff out there. Which that didn't last very long, but then I got into the vlogging aspect of it, started the new channel, and that's when I came up with the new old vlog. And it's funny that you ask about this right now because, I mean, kind of keeping it horror related, I don't want to discount that. So 2016 is when I started doing the horror pack and everything. And that's also when vlogging had become really like popular with people like Casey Neistat and everything. So I would do those those would be, you know, part of my content. I do the unboxings of the horror pack, and any unboxings I was going to thrift stores a lot more and just finding different DVDs. But the vlogging piece of it, I found this community, and I came across an old video from a member of the community, and we were like a tight knit community. We weren't huge channels. There were a couple people on there that had significant, I wouldn't say like had like 10,000 subs.
To you and I, it's big.
It's yeah.
You know, at that point, for me at least.
It's big to then be part of that community, like where you're part of that then group. Like he's commenting on your videos, and then we just found this like tight knit community. We called it the Vlogging Life community, and there was like at least 20 of us, like steady ones, and we every day watch each other's videos, do different like challenges. Like the video I went back and watched because it was in my favorites. It was like a time lapse challenge, and there was a guy in the group who would did great, like time lapses, like sunsets and everything. So we kind of judged it. So I didn't submit to that one, but I did other ones. But the one guy got it all organized, and everybody would submit their videos. It was all people that we knew, and then would shout out, and it was just like, you tell your friend. But we all like grew, and I kind of was. That lasted for about till like 2018, I would say, and then everybody kind of started just moving on, doing different things. Life happens. People get married, different jobs, because some of them were younger, so finishing up school, and then they were going to work. But after seeing that video, it kind of makes me want to go back and reach out to some of them and see if they're still doing anything, or to see if we can kind of even do something like this, like a podcast together or something. But that was the crux of it. And that was for me, that between 16 to like 2018, when I was doing it pretty consistently, vlogging, throughout the year, and doing a Vlogmas thing at the end of year to end of year. Like, that was probably my pinnacle, like, enjoyment of you making YouTube. And then it kind of, when things started changing with the algorithm and then getting demonetized and just all the nonsense, it kind of lost its fun. But yeah, so that was my YouTube. That's how my YouTube channel. So, and I'll still, like I said, every once in a while I'll throw a vlog up, but I'm definitely not many videos, over the past couple of years, not many vlog videos or any specific videos. I've uploaded some old, clips from old VHS tapes of, different like bone performances and stuff. But, that's my YouTube journey right there. So that's the story of my channel in regards to that. So,
to the podcast and how, this became a haunted inspiration. Obviously this is a horror channel, and why you're being featured on here is because of your podcast. You deal with a lot of different types. I guess, what is it, more like a nostalgia based? Is that what you would consider?
Yeah.
Like, you talk about a lot of shows, but a lot of things in, just media.
Yeah, a lot of it is like stuff. Most of it is stuff from when I was younger, like different shows and different things. And a lot of them, I mean, some of the earlier podcasts with the horror stuff were movies. Actually, most of them, I can't even say that, because most of the horror movies are that I've featured on there. I'm trying to think if there's any that off the top of my head that were movies that would have been from back then, in terms of that meant something to me back then. But most of them were just during the 80s or during the 90s. Like, they were during that period, but they didn't necessarily have a deep tie to me. But they come off like the recommendations of channels like yours and other people. Like, when I started really getting more into horror, we talked about this a little bit on our episode of the Mind of Smoothie podcast, with the collection of like DVDs and everything, and hearing, like, seeing all these, opening up to this horror community and seeing like other people's collections and hearing them talking about the different things, or seeing nostalgic stuff. One of the biggest things, I'm sure you've come across it in your searches, if people have it. And I should have mentioned this when we were doing our show. Another, not Halloween moment, but Halloween moment, but a decoration that these cardboard cutout decorations, you know them if you saw them. They're pretty standard. Like, there's the pumpkin with the straw hat and the corncob pipe, and there's a black cat one. And seeing like those, I had them in my house, like hanging up. I can like remember where they were placed, if they were on the window, or if they were like in on a wall in the house or something. And seeing other people's inspiration or seeing other people share that stuff and bringing back that nostalgia. So that's more of like where I like to focus. But then when I watch some of these movies, I still remember like hearing about them, or it triggers something from back then. So it's more so nostalgia, retro based. I did do a podcast episode on the Tales from the Dark Side series. I think
Yeah.
did I do one on? I don't know if I did. Did I do one on Friday the 13th? I don't remember the series or
And
no.
it's Saturday the 14th.
Just okay, which is a good one. That was a core. That was a core childhood memory because I mentioned it in that episode. But the Tales from the Dark Side one, that was one that I remember distinctly. Like, and that's still, and I said it in that podcast episode, and I'll say it here now. The intro to that show still gives me like chills, and that almost kind of sets the the mood for the season, if you will, like that.
Kind of shows. I love like that. There's a different story every time. I love that. I love those types of, and I love the ones that are like horror based or thriller. I mean, even like the Twilight Zone and stuff like that. Those really, I just love that aspect of, watching one episode and then it's done, and then watching another episode, it's a whole new experience.
And the fact that like back in the 80s, like I mean, now you're seeing more. Like in the 90s, I don't think so much. There weren't any real series like that, but you saw like a return to it with like the Supernaturals or even like the Buffy, which was like the later 90s, pushing towards the 2000s. But there was a time that you wouldn't see like horror anthology series like that on TV. Now, like I said, with The Walking Dead and American Horror Story. But what I was saying about the TV, we'll just pick back up there. Again, with the using Tales from the Dark Side, it was, I didn't remember many of the episodes. I went and bought the DVD thing, and I think I just randomly picked an episode that kind of got well-received reviews or that I read to watch and go back. But that was more so, I remember that being on Saturday nights because I marked it because my grandparents would come up. So on Thursday nights, my grandma and grandpa would come up. They didn't drive, so my dad would pick them up. And Thursday nights, they would come over, for like, it probably seemed like all night, but it was probably only until like 10 o'clock. But like Thursdays with them was gum day. So we get new, like the big Wrigley's or, the big plastic pack with like the 5-pack things. And then Saturdays was donut night. So we get Dunkin' Donuts, and they would stay and we would watch all the TV shows. But I knew that, because before going to pick them up, if I was going with my dad or whatnot, I would catch that on TV, and the intro, like I said, always stood out to me. I think it's one of the greatest, creepiest intros ever. Just the footage and then the transition, like the inverse of it and the music. Oh, love it. But that's a lot. What a lot of that has to tie into the retro side. So, but I do, like I said, I do pick horror movies, and usually a majority of the ones that are on of the podcasts that I have are horror movies related to a holiday or non-Halloween holiday, like New Year's.
Like I had My Bloody Valentine. What was that one we were talking about before? It was like 4th of July.
Oh, Uncle Sam. Yeah, that's
Uncle
like
Sam.
I said, that's my all time. That was literally one that when I made that episode, I Googled 4th of July horror movies. And, they had, I Know What You Did Last Summer because it takes place on 4th of July, but Uncle Sam was on the top of the list. And
that's 4th of July. I mean, you can't it's not like a small, connection. It happened on 4th of July. It's about 4th of July. It's definitely,
and that's,
more centered around that day than a lot of the other ones they probably, considered to be a 4th of July movie.
Yep. And then that's why I go. But when I saw Uncle Sam and saw it was on Tubi, I knew it had to be good because if it's on Tubi, it's good. And I think it came out in like 95 or 96, if I'm not mistaken, but I don't think I've ever heard of it prior to, like, I think it had a theatrical trailer and everything. And one of the pain points, have you ever seen the movie?
Yeah, I did like a long time ago. I did probably when it was out, and I don't have a lot of memories of it, but I would definitely like to go back. I did see that episode of your podcast about it, and it
It's,
made me want to watch it. I'll probably watch it on the 4th of July.
I think it's still on Tubi. I liked it enough that I bought the Blu-ray. But the part that's another pain point, especially for people with, like, I like to collect things, mostly movies and stuff. If I had the space and if I had the money and the time, like, you see Urkel there over my shoulder, but I would like collect toys. But at the end, I don't want to give spoilers, even though the movie's almost 30 years old, but
I do so.
But at the end, the boy, he's let down by his Uncle Sam. We'll just say that. And he has all these, like, G.I. Joe toys, and he's putting them in the fire. And it was not CGI, so it's that could be like a kind of a pain point for people watching and be like, no, what are you doing? And, but still had that little bit of nostalgia going on.
That's me.
So, but that's mainly the horror themed ones right now are, I shouldn't say right now, they all are holiday related, I think.
I know that. I mean, I noticed that you have a significant amount of horror movies. Now come to think of it, they were mainly holidays. But it's funny, they were different holidays that are not Halloween, but you chose horror movies. But that's, I think that for some reason horror movies take place on holidays a lot of the time. I don't know why that is, but there are a lot of horror movies that are based, take place on holidays.
Yeah, and that's why I did it. So usually whenever there's a holiday coming up, I Google and see if there's anything. Like, I've looked up, I know the next holiday would be coming up, Memorial Day, I guess. And I think there are a few, but they're very loosely related. So I'll watch them, and if I think they're like good enough, like I said, with Uncle Sam, it was just a great movie. So that's why I definitely.
Right now it's Halloween right now. So
yep. And what was another one that was? I don't mind doing a loose association, like with Critters, or Critters 2. It was 2 that I did because it's set on Easter, but it's not, fully. Not an Easter movie, but I make the exception for that just because it was a good.
In the way that Uncle Sam was, 4th of July,
and it
big.
Was 4th, like it was 4th of July. Yeah, it was small town, everybody gathering together, celebrating together as a town, doing some fireworks display. It's like that's 4th of July through parade, everything.
So. Now going into like our, what we decided we're going to do for a project. We've already done one episode that is a welcome to, I guess, would it be like a welcome to halfway to Halloween, that episode?
Yeah. So that was an episode of my podcast. It was episode 30. Check it out when you get a chance on all your major podcast platforms. Shameless plug. But I thought that was a good way to segue, because we had talked about back in 2021. Like I said, it's been a rough couple of years. And
talked about project.
Yeah, and we talked about doing this project that I'll let you share what it is. And I decided that I could continue talking about it. We could keep talking about it, but unless I actually get it on the calendar or sit down and do it, that it was just going to keep being talk. So that's why I decided to jump in. We did the halfway to Halloween episode. It's a good episode. I think it turned out well.
And I'd like to release this video that day that's going to be released, just making that aware, so you guys, after watching this, could go over and watch the podcast.
Yes, or listen to it, depending on, there is a video component and audio component. Audio is easier to get up than video, just because I want to edit it and make it look nice, but that's neither here nor there. But I figured that was a good lead in, because it was, Monday is the halfway to Halloween point, and your channel is horror Halloween related. And I thought, hey, let's make this happen, and then we can test out the kinks, see what works, see what doesn't, and then we can push forward and pursue our other project. And if you want to tell them what that is.
I've done a video about this, talking about on halfway to Halloween, I was going to make an announcement. And what we're talking about is we're going to be doing a series on the Smoothies podcast. And it's going to be based on horror remakes. That's what the theme is going to be. And we're thinking maybe 3 episodes. But definitely going to have at least 1 episode, and hopefully 3. We have the ideas of what we're going to talk about. There's going to be 3 different discussions on that subject. But just wanted to make that announcement because I have never done a podcast before. We just finished wrapping up my first experience doing a podcast. I had a good time doing it. And thank you, Smoothie, for working with me on that.
Yeah.
It's something that I always wanted to do.
Yep. And hopefully you maybe even pursue it yourself individually later on.
Oh, definitely would love to try it.
Yeah, no, I enjoy it. And I enjoyed the fact that it wasn't just solo me. Like I said at the top of this show, that I do a podcast with some other friends, but it's always been a group one. So one of the challenges with my podcast has always been the solo aspect of it, because it's all relying on me. There's nobody to go back and forth. So if I draw a blank or whatever, there's nobody to pick up. It's a lot of work, and then have to edit it and spend so much time. But that's why I decided this year to just do it and put it out there with minimal editing. Aside, when I say minimal, like leaving silences or pauses in there because it's natural, and trying to, then it doesn't sound so edited. It sounds more natural and everything. And not getting hung up on that. Like I'll still edit it and adjust the volume and make it sound the best I can make it sound. But in terms of letting it rip, this has been a great year for that. Like I have not really spent much time.
How many episodes this year? I mean, how many this year did you do? I mean, to me, it seemed like a good amount.
13 this year.
Yeah.
So I started this year with episode 18. Yeah. So I started this podcast in 2020 and got only through 2023, 17 episodes done. So I'm already.
This year was probably the most you've done in that time frame, I'm assuming.
It was rough at the beginning of the year. That's why, not rough. When I say rough, like I was still dragging my feet and not pushing forward. That's why the New Year's episode got pushed to like the 3rd week and took long to get released. But then that's when I made the decision. I was like, I just got to do it, and that's how I've been doing the past couple of weeks. It's moved every other week, at least for this, which is fine. I'm still happy with that. Doing them solo definitely is a lot to find the topic, research, and record all within a week. So what I need to work on and what I'm trying to work on is getting episodes recorded so I can have them released. So it would be sessions almost like this where I'm sitting down and doing 1, 2, 3 episodes at a time, at least to get the main part down, then can edit everything else later. But yeah, so this year, like the podcast has really been the go-to for me. That's why there's been a slight downtime on the YouTube, if you will.
Oh, one of the things I wanted to talk about is, at least with our project, because obviously I'm going to discuss it on this channel, because what we decided we're going to do with the remakes, if you think about it, the majority of remakes are horror movies. So that's what we decided we were going to do. We were going to discuss strictly horror movie remakes, and we're going to, do this during the Halloween season. And I'm excited. I'm excited about it. I already have a bunch of ideas about what movies we would like to, or I would like to discuss. So I'm excited. I can't wait to get into those discussions.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. And like I said, doing this episode and doing the podcast episodes kind of solidifies it. Now it has to happen. That we've
gotta happen. We already have one episode that
we've done it. we've done it, and now
Film
it's
where we, and now that we know that we've got that started, no reason to go on and follow up with the rest of them.
yep. So yeah, so I'm looking forward to that, and I'm just looking forward to seeing what more you have coming out on your channel, and of course I'm looking forward to see what more, like I want to pick up the YouTube here, especially with it being nice, and we were talking about the vlogging. Again, it's something that I really want to go back and visit and see if I can reach out to some of the old people, and see if they even want to just do like a video like collab thing like we used to do. I don't know, but I really want to get back into vlogging again.
I say that was doing this podcast with you and working together. I'm honored that I was your first guest on the podcast.
Oh.
That's great.
Yes, now I have to find other guests. I'm glad it was you, and I'm glad it worked out that way. So now I'll find more.
Well, I can't wait to get into the upcoming episodes we're going to be working on. My mind's going to be, going all over the place trying to figure out, what we're going to talk about. But I already have an idea of what I'm going to bring to the table. So I'd like to hear what you have to bring to the table as well. And yeah, so guys, again, I just wanted to say thank you, Smoothie, for being on my Haunted Inspiration episode. And I can't wait to do this project with you. So
yep, definitely looking forward to it. Thank you for also, like we just said, being the first guest on my podcast.
I very much enjoyed it.
Good. I'm glad.
All right, guys, I guess that's it. Glad that we had this opportunity to connect, because we go a long way back. Yep. And I have not talked to you for like this long in a long time. We used to like hang out, and and it's been a long time since I've spent that time hanging out with you for this amount of time. So I'm glad that we had that chance.
Yep, me too. Yeah, it was good. Definitely.
All right, guys, happy haunts. See you on the next video, and subscribe to our channel. Bye, guys.